Don't make any major decisions, none, until you've had time to process the passing of your spouse. And that's going to take a minute. So don't make any major decision.
She just let me know, but they show no fish. Didn't say you found it, but she's still gonna hold on. Didn't say you found it, but she doesn't want.
Hi, welcome to Strengthening What Remains, a Widow's podcast. And today we have Tarita. I'm so excited that she is here to share her widow journey as well as how she is strengthening what remains. Hi, Tarita.
Thank you for having me.
No, thank you. Thank you so much. So, it's all on you. It's all on you. Tell us your love story. How are you doing this? I want to hear about you, Tarita.
Oh, well, I'm Tarita Hallman. I am the afterlife wife of Darrell Hallman.
Yes.
I I started calling myself the afterlife wife because the term widow for me in my world was very dismissive.
Okay.
So when my husband passed away, I started running into barriers and obstacles in how to take care of his affairs, even though I was listed on all his documents. So I became very bitter about the actual title widow because
Yeah.
in my previous world, I was always involved in positions where I had titles. Everyone around me had titles. You know, I'm ex-military. So I'm also ex-law enforcement. So titles, chain of command, all of that means something to me. So when he passed away and I became a widow, and I became someone who was dismissed as though my thoughts didn't matter, or
just like you just was thrown to the wayside.
Right. So I just kind of coined the term his afterlife wife, because anyone can use it, because that's who we are. We are still conducting affairs. We are still living as though we are married. Because there is a void that we don't want to feel. And so that's where I am. And so I embrace those that use the term, of course, because they're not using it as a form to hurt. And so, and I'm talking banking institutions that were, she's his widow, so yeah.
Like, excuse me, like, I'm not dirty, like,
it sounds
like this is widow, like, excuse me, like, no. So I do like that term afterlife, like,
yeah.
Sweet, I'm gonna have to, because that sounds, there's a ring to it. I love that. I love that. It's more, to me, it's more uplifting, especially too. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure you do, but a lot of people, they don't believe in like the afterlife. I personally do. So that you got something right there now, Tarita. You have something right there.
At the time that I coined the term, it was more in line with the fact that I'm still conducting business as his wife. And he's gone, but this is me functioning day to day, and you guys are dumbing down the fact that I'm functioning hard to function, but I'm
Right.
still having to take care of stuff.
Everything.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so
Everything.
quit, I know it's kind of long, but quit calling me widow as though, it's nasty,
Right.
and once you're a widow, it's like people don't want to deal with you anymore. And I've learned that it's not even it's not that they don't want to deal with you. People just don't know what to say to you.
They don't know what to say. They don't
Mhm.
know how to react to whatever you may feel. They don't know if you
Mhm.
may have a trigger. And I understand all of that.
Yeah.
Like you said, we are still women. We're still wives. I don't care. I guess I use more so the term widow because I'm not a single woman. Like, I'm
Mhm.
not single because
Mhm.
if my husband was still alive, we'll still be doing this thing.
Exactly.
We will still be doing this thing. But I am so happy to hear about this, like, afterlife wife. Like, I love
Right.
that term.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that you definitely put that twist on it, and
Mhm.
that sounds way more refreshing. It really does. It sounds way more refreshing. So I'm still giving you kudos. I am loving that. Okay, I'm loving that. So, how long have you been an afterwife wife?
It was 24 months on August 4th.
Okay,
My husband passed away on my birthday 24 months ago.
I
And
am
let
so
me tell
sorry.
you, I appreciate that. Um, but let me tell you, I will start out saying that Darrell was the epitome of an angel on earth.
Oh,
Now, I know a lot of people say that about their significant other, but my
but
husband,
you had them, right?
exactly. If
Right.
there is, there are people that are genuinely good people.
Yes.
My husband was genuinely a good man. He walked the Christian walk. He was humble.
Oh,
I never heard my husband yell.
oh,
He, I heard him get mad once,
right,
but
right.
he didn't even raise his voice. He was just stern and matter of fact, and he was just someone that when he walked into a room, people knew that he was a man of God.
Oh,
And
love it.
so when we met, um, it's funny because I wrote a letter and put it in some water like months before we met, and it was a letter to God, but to my significant other.
Right.
And I let God know what I wanted
Yes.
and explained that it's all on you. I'm not going to be
Right,
looking anymore. I'm going to sit down and not try to orchestrate my life.
right. I'm just gonna
Um,
move on out the way, God, and
exactly.
I'm gonna let you do this. But you asked and you shall receive. But you
Right.
had to ask, right?
Yeah.
You had it down. Yes.
Exactly. Exactly. So I wrote out everything that I wanted. It was after having written it so many times, I just abbreviated everything and then put it in a note, put it
Yes.
in my favorite apple juice glass and tossed it in the water.
Just
And
let it go.
a couple of months later, I met my husband,
Wow.
and he was sitting on a bench in IHOP. We all went out to breakfast, and he was part of the group, but neither one of us had been going to breakfast. And that's the day I met him, the day I decided to go to breakfast. Let me
Wow.
tell you, he leaned on me, and I'm already real private about my personal space. And so I
Yes.
was texting my friend across the bench
Yes.
about this guy sitting next to me, leaning on me.
Right. He like, do you know him? Like, what?
And so he was texting me back, telling me, "Oh, that's Darrell. He works in central service, blah
Right.
blah blah." And I was telling him, I'm not offended. He smells really good. We all worked overnight, but for
It
for
smelling good over here.
exactly. So, from that moment on, we started. We exchanged numbers. You know, um, we had a really nice time. We went out on a date, and we didn't want the date to end. We had our core values were aligned because we
Yeah.
were both not sexual. We didn't want
Right.
to. We were both attracted to each other, but we were both like really interested in the book The Wait. Um,
Yes.
so we didn't participate in anything, but
Right.
we spent the first night together, like going over. We watched a movie. We went over, ate a lot of food. We went over everything that we enjoyed about
Yeah.
life in general.
The
And
true
before
intimacy, like it wasn't about
exactly,
y'all really had true intimacy. So that,
exactly,
girl,
yeah,
listen. Brad was like, I'm gonna sweep her off her feet because he probably wrote something on a note too and threw it out in the
he
ocean. And
did. He
I
did.
said, here you go.
Yeah, I learned that later that he had wrote his own little. This is what I want.
Stop it.
Yeah, but he didn't put it in the water. I still have his.
Okay.
He had stuck it in an envelope, and he had a special envelope that he kept all his letters to God in.
Oh, love
Yeah,
it.
and I have
Love
all those
it.
letters.
Love it. Oh my gosh. Like when you see, I mean, we see, God do things every day in our lives, but when you actually see things that you have written down, because we ask God for a lot of things and we just don't remember, half the time,
Mhm.
right? We
Right.
like, oh yeah, we did ask him for that. But then when you actually wrote it down and you can
Hmm.
go back and refer to it, and you're like, man, God, you didn't blew my mind. Like truly blew your mind. Oh, I love it. I love it.
We had so many on our biblical Christian walk. We
Yes.
had so many um, epiphanies that were touched by God. I don't know how else to explain that. Even in his death,
Right.
there were things that were um, like realizations for me that
Mm-hmm.
um, were God ordained.
Oh,
You
yes.
know, um, I couldn't have said this a year ago, but because
Right.
I'm furthering along my walk with God, I can say these things now. Um, widow's fog, COVID, memory loss.
Yes.
I had to write stuff down while I could. So I wrote our short story. I put a book together, and
Oh, I
so
love it.
huh.
I said, I love it. Love it.
So I it's only like 80 pages, but it's an 80-page story about us, so I don't forget. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
it was hard with COVID and
Yes.
widows
Fall.
fog. Yeah. So um I even wrote in there some of the things that were irritating me that people were doing. I'll get to that, but our our love story was um it was filled with funniness and just comical moments because we
Yes.
were both set in our ways and we were looking at each other like, well, who's going to be the responsible one to let go?
Right. That is just too cute. Oh my God. So it's like y'all came together and it was like, okay, this is how we are. So who gonna be in? You gonna be in? I'm gonna be in. Like, oh, I guess
Yeah.
where's the flip a coin?
Yeah. I tell you, um, we set our wedding date for like the 17th of January, but we ended up getting married
Okay.
on the 7th. And it was less than 6 months after we met. And
Wow.
so we had 6 wonderful summers together.
Ah,
And so that's what
love it.
our story is called. 6 Summers, our abbreviated story, because it just
Oh, love
wasn't
it.
finished. It wasn't
Right,
finished.
right, right.
um, so um, we were just in love,
Yeah.
and I feel like I was here to help him learn what true love was,
Oh,
because
beautiful.
he had been here in life, but he had never really had a girlfriend. He didn't
Right,
have any children.
right.
He was very distrusting of people
Okay.
and their intentions.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I
And then
believe
came
he,
you
huh?
sitting on, I said, and then came you sitting on the bench in the IHOP, and that was your man. Yes, that's so good.
And it's so, God brings things full circle without you
Yeah.
even realizing it, because it wasn't until just when I was going over this to talk with you, I was like, the way I met him is the way he left me. And I didn't even realize it.
You didn't
I
realize.
didn't realize the significance of that.
Right, right.
Um, he came into my life, I believe, to help me on my walk with
Yeah.
God,
Yes.
because I have a hard time hearing God sometimes.
Uh-huh.
And he was teaching me how to shut up and shut off stuff.
Right.
So I
Focus.
can
I need you to
right.
focus here. Yeah.
Yeah. So I can hear. Um he was an amazing man. And I'm one of those people that I get people, because I'm in groups of other widows.
Okay.
And so I noticed that just by profile pictures alone, that there's not very many of me in there.
Right.
And a lot of times, um, I'll make a comment and people won't respond. And I feel like it's for no other reason other than what my profile picture looks like. Sometimes
Right.
I get angry faces, the angry face, and it's like, but we're all at a loss. I don't understand.
Why I don't understand why the angry face.
Yeah,
Like, and I know you didn't make a mistake and hit that button. You did
right,
it on purpose,
right.
And that's the whole reasoning for actually really showing the journey
Hmm.
as us. No
Yeah,
offense to anyone else, but I did not see us. I didn't
right.
see us. And if it was us, we was in a group outnumbered by them,
Yeah.
and I just feel not that we aren't on this same walk together, but when it comes to our black man,
Hmm.
it's a difference, you
Right.
know, it's a difference, and I wanted to show people, as a black woman that, hey, we are here. We are healing the proper ways. We're not out here being mad black women. We're writing books. We're uplifting each other.
Right.
Like those things are
Exactly.
happening. And
Mhm.
I'm fairly new on my journey, but I wanted to, I guess, show people, basically that this is real. This is us. Like, and you do have support from us. Like,
Yeah.
and like you said, your book, I have other widows I spoke to, they have their books, they're going to therapy. Like, we're healing too. We are healing too. We just don't see a representation of us, and as
Right.
much as I tried to steer away from it, God was like, girl, this is your assignment right now. Like, and I need you to walk into it, because I kept telling God, I'm not ready to do this. Like, I'm just not there yet. And he's like, yes, you are. I'm going to help you along the way. Like, you're never going to be fully ready to ever do this, because I didn't plan to do life without my husband. I'm sure you didn't either, when you
Right.
met you. But, here we are now. connecting, and like you say, you've written a book, and and which I want the link to. I'm going to leave it on the video on our YouTube, on the YouTube
Okay.
page, because I want people to support you and be able to purchase your book. Okay.
Okay. I
Yes,
appreciate
definitely. So how are you now? Besides the book, I'm sure the book was part of your healing, and it still is, because like you say, you're referencing back to it. But what are you doing now to actually strengthen what remains? Like, what are you still doing? What's a hobby or something that you have gotten into?
well, I've always liked to decorate. Um,
Okay.
so my husband and I had just purchased our first home together,
Okay.
and so I'm just now getting finished decorating, but now I have a theme. Um, for me, on Fridays and Saturdays,
Mm-hmm.
I've kind of turned it into my foyer area into like a little mini jazz themed
Ooh.
like cafe thing.
Yeah.
Um, so I have a light, um, um, LED light, and
Yes.
I named my home the Hallman Hermitage because I'm still introverted and I still hang out at my house. So
Yes.
what I do is I just sit down with a glass of wine or some coffee
Yes.
or tea or something,
Yes.
whatever I'm in the mood for, and I have my jazz going. Or um, he had this gospel playlist, and I
Mm-hmm.
like to listen to that too. And so either or, whatever I'm feeling, and um, my dog um,
No, it's okay.
trying to get my attention, but I turned the LED light on and I got the jazz going, and I genuinely just kind of tune everything out and just
Right.
relax. And for me, that helps me in my moments
Mm-hmm.
because it's been extremely hard. I
Yes.
don't have the answers that I need. I don't have I'm a visual person. So
Okay.
I need to be able to see and hear and be able to stand on God's word. I know
Yes.
what you said. I know what you said.
Yeah.
Um, but when people tell me he's in a better place, I don't have that eyewear.
Yes.
So I need the spiritual eyewear in order to see that.
Right. And you know what? I think that was said to me too, like in the beginning, like, oh, well, there's no better place than being, with God. And I'm like,
Mhm,
listen. What? I don't know what y'all talking about, but I
mhm,
don't see how this is working for me. I don't see how this is supposed to be helping me. I don't get it. So like
mhm.
you're telling me, oh, he's in a better place, and he's good now. I didn't want to hear any of that, because
Right.
I'm like, what? How is this going to help me, especially us with our young kids? I'm like, how is this supposed to be good for us?
Mm,
It
right.
wasn't until I read a book called Laws of the Spirit World,
Hmm.
until I understood more from my own understanding. And then I got the glasses on, and saw like maybe what was, what they were trying to tell me. Because
Hmm.
what I've learned, on my journey, well, even before then, but what I've learned is, a lot of people love to quote things that they heard their pastor say, but they
Yeah.
never really actually lived it, or can really dissect the message, how it needs to be told or dissected. So I had to do a lot of research myself. But once I read that book, a light bulb literally turned on.
Mm,
And I was like, yo, okay, wait a minute now. Wait a minute. I'm like, the ball is rolling, it's clicking to me now.
okay.
And it it helped me to see how we are all spiritual beings, having a human experience at the moment.
Mm,
So it's not to say that, oh, it was so beneficial to you, but everything will work out for your good. If you understand what I'm saying, like, yeah, you're heartbroken. Like, this is trauma. You hear what I'm saying? Like, let's not get it twisted. This is trauma. It was at one point I was going, when people say take it one day at a time, I was doing 1 second at a time, because 1
Mhm.
second I'm fine, the next second I'm bawling. So I just started to learn more about the spirit world. I started
Mhm.
learning more about it, and it really has helped me on my journey. Yes, I cry still. Yes, I still miss the physical, but it
Mhm.
made me put on the glasses. You know how you say you
Yeah.
can't see it? I started to see it. So possibly, maybe you can grab that book too if you haven't already, because I talk about it all the
Yeah.
time.
Well, I ordered it, so it should
Okay.
be here tomorrow along with the women's Bible because I
Okay,
ordered that
yes.
too.
Yes, the women
Yeah.
that women's Bible is so good. It is so so good. But definitely when you read that book, we're gonna chat about that. We're
Okay.
gonna chat about that. When you read that book, I want you to call me and we're gonna chat about that because I want to know your perspective. Like after you read, the first couple of pages, you gonna start breathing different because
Mhm.
it's a different feel. It's a different outlook. Okay, it's a totally different outlook. It talks to you in that book about God and how God is and how it is in their world now.
Mhm.
It's amazing. It's
Mhm.
amazing in the world that we will once have to go to as well, because we aren't immortal. Like we know that, because if we could be, we'll live forever. But that's not how it is. But I needed a more understanding of where my husband was, what was going
Yeah.
on. I needed to know.
See, that's what I wanted to know too. And I kept telling
Yes,
myself, there's absolutely no way, because I know my husband is a Christian and I know that he felt like I'm going somewhere and I'm going to sleep because that's what he was taught. Christians go to sleep and they wait
yes,
for the return. And
yes.
so I kept thinking to myself, there's no way that he went to go be with God and my husband didn't ask permission to go back and check on me. I know that. And so when I came back from the hospital, and I haven't shared this with many people, but when I came back from the hospital, my shower was running. We had COVID. And so um he
It's okay.
he
It's okay. Take your time.
he he had
Take your
some prior existing issues
Okay.
that he had been dealing with his whole life. And in my book I share that he had been trying to get me out of the house, and I had a real bad experience with the police while I was working in law enforcement. So I just became a hermit for
Yeah,
real.
right. Right.
And so I was not leaving the house. And then when COVID hit, I
You
wasn't
did.
leaving at all.
Right, right.
So he kept expressing, we're moving into this new neighborhood. Get out and meet the neighbors. And so the lady moved in with her husband next door. And I was like, okay, I'll try this. So I
Right.
met the lady next door, met a couple of the women around the neighborhood, and we all just kind of got together and started talking. And it was nice. Well, at some point, her and her son were sick, but she said he was teething. So I didn't
Mm,
pay any attention. And he was maybe 2. I don't remember how old the baby was, but
right,
she came over sick. I didn't know she was sick. She didn't know she was sick. I don't really remember all of the details, but I
right.
know that um I offered her some tea. She came over, stayed for about an hour, and we were just talking. We were going over scripture. I was telling her
Mm,
about the guy in the park that she was having a hard time with because I guess she had told the guy that she didn't want to get the vaccination or wasn't going
mm.
to get it for her child. And the nice guy in the park that she had been talking to for weeks became angry with her. So I
Oh, wow.
told her, I said that you're going to have to learn how to discern spirits. So I was texting my husband trying to get the scripture. This is all going on in the house while I'm talking to her and I'm telling her this, sharing with her that um, nothing will come here. You know what I'm saying? We're prayed
Right.
up. So I
Right.
feel confident sharing this with you.
Right.
I'm telling you, I gave her the tea. I want to say it was around the 15th of July. I was sick around the 19th. My husband caught it from me because he was kissing me bye. And I kept telling him, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel like anything that I've ever had. Yeah.
Right.
Because it was like I felt it in the morning. And by the time it was time for him to go to work at 1 o'clock, I couldn't, my head was hurting so bad.
Ooh,
And there was
okay.
nothing that was relieving it. And he
Right.
was like, I'm gonna get my kisses in, you know. I don't care about none of that. I'm gonna get my kisses.
Right.
He was sick by the 21st, I believe. He was calling in. My husband never called into work. I'm telling you, in less than 3 weeks, he was gone.
It happened just that fast.
Yeah, it was good. But the weird thing is, and this is how I know that God does things, he have you operating when you're listening to him, you doing things that you don't even know that you're
That you
doing.
do.
Right.
Mhm.
And I was making appointments for us to get a team in here to get us hydrated because we weren't eating. So I had a nurse team come in and
Right.
hydrate us. And
Right.
my husband asked for them to come back a second time. When
Mm.
they came back a second time, they were hydrating him and he started throwing up. And she's like,
Right.
that's not normal because I'm only giving you hydration. Why are you
Hydration.
throwing up? Yeah, why are you throwing
Right.
up? And so it was so hard. On the 31st, from the 15th when I got sick to the
Right.
31st when we were both feeling it,
Right.
he ended up going to the hospital that night, like early in the morning hours. My husband was my husband was he was 46 when he passed away, but when he was leaving here, the version of COVID that we had aged him.
Oh,
He couldn't hear when he left here. He couldn't really breathe. The paramedics thought he was being um what is the word where when you're
what, hallucinating, like?
uh-uh um they thought because he was ignoring them, and so they thought he was being like
Defiant.
mean or yeah, rude or
Mhm.
but I said, well, he can't hear you. This is new. This is a new symptom. And so he was sitting on the bench waiting for them to put him on the stretcher. And he
Yes.
looked me dead in my eyes and said, I'm sorry, babe. And that was the last thing he said to me. And they willed him out of here and they wouldn't let me go because I had COVID too. And so
I'm sorry. Take your time. Take your time.
okay,
Take your time.
okay, okay, okay.
Take your time.
I got it.
Girl, we ain't doing this today.
I got it.
Yes, we are, right? Yes, we are. Woo!
He got to the hospital, and because he worked at the hospital, he saw these people that he was familiar with. So he was very happy to see him. And the nurse was telling me over the phone that, he ate half a sandwich because we weren't eating anything. So
Right.
when she said he ate half a sandwich and he was in good spirits, that's what she said. He's in good spirits because he sees all of his coworkers.
Right.
And so she said, we're going to try to do a video call with y'all. And that never happened because the hospital, it was hard to keep internet services with the video stuff. So
Yeah.
they would call me and let me know he's okay. Every shift change, it seemed like I was getting a call. So they were really helping me through the process of him being away from me
Yes.
and keeping me updated. Anyway, that was the night of the 31st. The night of the 1st, his heart stopped and they brought him back. And they called and told me that. And I was like, and they said it so cavalierly, like, this is Dr. Whatever, and his heart stopped today, but we got him back and he's doing good. And then they progressively started giving me different information with each phone call, and then different departments started calling me, but it wasn't clicking. Someone called me from palliative care or something like that, and then I started getting phone calls from his department. We're doing paperwork for extended leave for him, and then someone called me from some other department. But then this doctor called me, and he said that we've put a tube in him because he had the heart attack. And I was like, heart attack? Then I started feeling like there's a lot of information I don't need to know. But then I started thinking I need to call his mom. I need to call his brother. I need to make phone calls because I'm sure they're calling me and not calling them. And so I started calling. I called his brother. And my husband was never one that wanted me to make phone calls to anybody about him.
Right.
But I'm a mother. And so I called his brother, and his brother was like, my brother. And he wasn't hearing me. And
Right.
so I said, please don't make me repeat any of this stuff. His brother's so dramatic. I love his family, but it got worse after all of this. My husband, I believe he and God got together and chose my birthday because I was mad at first.
Right.
I was like, why would you choose this day?
Right.
But one of the brother deacons came over and he told me, he said, now you know Darrell loved you. He chose that day so you can have that day to celebrate. And I've been feeding off of that because that's how my husband's heart was.
Right.
But that's how we were connected. We were so connected.
Right.
I've dated, but my husband and I were so connected. And I searched high and low myself, looking for people all through my life, trying to have a soul connection here and a soul connection there. I had a bunch of soul ties.
Right.
And then when my husband found me, I tell you, there was a soul connection there. And I think I was more angry with God for allowing him to find me so late in life, and then him leaving 6 summers later.
Right.
I think that's why I was so mad. And I used a lot of, now I talk with God with reverence, but I was abrasive, you know? Why? You know, who are you to take my man? I was
Right. Right.
How dare I? But you know, that's how I felt.
Right.
And I had every right to feel that way.
You did.
And I feel like there's a part of me who knows that there's a whole world out there of understanding that I haven't even tapped into yet. But because it hurts so bad, there was a part of me that didn't even want to know or understand. And then people was they were taking my my husband's space. I don't know if I'm going to explain this right, but my husband was at one point one of the last people to hug me, and I am not a big hugger. So all of his hugs meant something to me, and people would just tell me, I know you're not a hugger, but I am, and then just steal a hug from me because they felt like the words that was the next thing to do in this grieving process. You know what I'm saying? It took me to explain in this book, don't touch me. It's not because I'm angry with you or anything. I'm just not a toucher. And now that my husband is gone, you guys are stealing from me. And just because you're a hugger
doesn't mean that I want you to hug me.
Right.
Like, respect the boundaries here, like, because that is something that you had sacred with your husband, like you said.
Yeah.
At the IHOP when you just met, you like, why is this man leaning? Like, I don't even like people leaning on me, but I guess he, like you accepted it then. So it was like you let him into your space then,
Yeah.
And what it was your comfort. It was everything to you, and for somebody to go against that boundary just because they felt that, oh yeah, well, I'm a hugger, so I'm just gonna hug you. I'm sorry you even had to go through that. Like,
I'm sorry for your loss is what they would say, and then hug. And people still do it all the time, but I'm more receptive to it now. It took me going on a women's retreat in Mexico to learn that it's okay. It's okay to hug people because they need the hug. You don't necessarily need it. I don't necessarily need it, but they may.
True.
But what I have a problem with, even now, is that people will genuinely just say, I'm going to hug you. They don't ask permission. They just insert their feeling on wanting to embrace me. And back in the day, people used to, and this happened in church, people would hug me and sniff me. And I didn't like that. And it was men and women alike in church. They would embrace you and, oh, what are you wearing? Oh, that smells so good. Yeah, it was a complete turn off for me in church.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
So yeah, don't
back it up. Like, yeah.
So that was one of the major things that I ran into being a widow right off the bat. People want to touch you. Then I had people coming over to the house unannounced, and then they would get upset because I wasn't answering the door. But a lot of people, first of all, you're coming over unannounced.
Right.
And I still have COVID. So it was just really frustrating for me to have to say things. And then my husband, we talked about everything. And because I was in law enforcement, I saw a lot of death. When I was in the military, I was responsible for wills and power of attorneys. So I talked about those things all the time. So it was not unusual for us to talk about death and what we wanted. He was very clear with me. He didn't want a funeral. He didn't want a bunch of people, gathering for him at a funeral. He didn't want his mama to have to deal with anything like that. And he wasn't interested in having anything big. And it really benefited me because COVID was one of the things that had us shut down a lot of stuff. I had a celebration of life for him. And I had 46 people here at the house. And we put balloons up, 46 balloons up, and they all went in the direction of where he used to work. And and then I had everybody leave, and I had a police escort here, and because I didn't want his family here, I didn't want any mess.
Right.
And it was very comfortable. It was uncomfortable for me, but it was a very comfortable, uncomfortable situation.
Right.
And so, but I'll tell you, when I got the call on the morning of the 4th to come to the hospital, the doctor told me, we're going to give you permission to come on in. We know you have COVID, but go ahead and come on to the hospital. We want you to go ahead and come here. And when I got there, they had me sitting in the waiting room for a while, and I kept hearing the tone for my husband's room. And so the doctors were coming to introduce themselves. His coworkers were coming up to me, and I kept hearing the tone, but it wasn't, I'm telling you, my mind
wasn't like they wasn't ready.
Right. They said, well, come on, let me walk you back so you can see your husband. When I got to the hallway, I did not want to see him, tubes and all of that stuff.
Right.
And a couple of his coworkers were walking behind me. When we got to the opening of my husband's room, I saw his stomach being jolted, and that sent me. I turned around to one of his coworkers when the doctor asked me, Miss Hallman, do we have permission to stop working on your husband? And I lost it. I lost it. Oh my God. Got it.
Tarita, what?
I feel like
who, like I don't understand people sometimes, like they become numb to it.
Yeah.
What?
They had been working on him for the hour that I was there. I had no idea.
You had no idea any of this was even going on. But why allow you to walk in on that?
But I should have known. That's the whole thing.
Right, you should have known. But I'm saying, like, they just, it's almost like they forced you into that. Like,
listen though, I used to work at the same hospital, and it didn't even dawn on me. This is how God used to let me back behind the curtain all the time. I used to walk into that emergency room and see things going on. I've been to the ICU. You see what I'm saying? I had a pre-existing relationship with that hospital, and during that time, it didn't even dawn on me that they are working on your husband. The code is being called continuously for your husband. That means they're steady pumping.
Steady pumping.
He was gone, and I didn't even know. And they're talking to me. They're talking to me like, because my husband, I don't know why they worked on him so long. I don't know.
They were trying.
This is me 2 years later. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
But I don't know.
You still don't even have closure on that. It's like, why would y'all do that, right?
It's not even for me, it's not about closure. It's about reliving that moment.
Mm-hmm.
But not in a negative way, because I'm not angry. I'm in awe because they let me come up there. They could have did all this without me. But they let me come up there, and then they let me in the room. And then my husband and I used to hold hands, but I never held his whole hand. I never held his hand. I only held his thumb.
Okay.
And that was our thing. And when I walked into the room, his hand was waiting for me to grab his thumb. It was such a moment. It was our moment. And his hand was still warm, but he was gone. Oh my God, I can do this. I can do this. Oh my God.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh,
You're doing so
one of the
good.
things.
You're doing so good. You are doing so good. You doing it. You telling y'all story. 6 summers, baby. 6 summers of love. You're telling y'all.
One of the things that one of the things that he used to let me do was hold his thumb, and he was okay with that. That was our thing.
Right.
And I held both of his thumbs. It's like his hands were relaxed just so I could put my hand in there.
In there.
And I can't tell you how long I was in the room with him, but it's like there was no air in the room. And then I had on 2 masks. So it's like I couldn't breathe.
Right.
But I felt like I was in there for hours, but I can't tell you how long I was in there. But I know when I got back home, my shower was running. It wasn't running full blast, but I didn't take a shower to go to the hospital. So I don't know why the water was like running in the shower. But I listened to this audiobook, Angels Beside Us, and it talks about energy. I didn't really realize we were nasty. Like during COVID, we couldn't really bathe and stay clean. And so I feel like that would have been the first thing. The first thing he would have did is take a shower. What? I'm getting ready to go meet Jesus.
Let me at least rinse off real quick, right? At least let me smell good, you know? Yeah.
Only because I don't know. I don't know what the other side looks like. I can only say that I know he came home for a moment before he went to wherever he went to, wherever he had to report to. There's some lines that got crossed, or he didn't hear well, or something.
Right.
So it's just, for me, it was kind of funny. It made me nervous at first because I thought somebody was in the house. But
right,
then,
of course.
but when I went back there and I realized it was just the shower,
Right.
I realized he was here while I was at the hospital.
Right.
And so that was the moment.
That was the moment.
Yeah.
So what advice would you have for a widow now? You know, somebody just became a widow. Like, what advice would you give to them?
Don't make any major decisions, none, until you've had time to process the passing of your spouse. And that's going to take a minute. So don't make any major decisions. Don't make any financial decisions. Don't make any lifelong commitments. Don't make any promises. because you're not going to remember that you made those right now in this moment. You're just not.
Right.
Take your time. And I live hour to hour through God's power. It took me a moment to get here because I was living minute to minute, but hour to hour is where I am now.
And that's
So
really good to hear.
I hope it helps.
So I'm so happy that you came on and shared your journey, your story, your love story, you know, how you are strengthening what is remaining. I'm proud of you. I am so proud of you. I just witnessed you really like going through this right now. I'm proud of you. If no one else tells you, I'm proud of you, Tarita, because it takes a lot to even relive that. And I'm proud of you for doing that, for wanting to share your story with other women, wanting to share your story to help others. Because you may feel, oh, it's just our love story. No, someone can relate to you. I can relate to you, you know.
Yeah.
So I thank you so much. And like I said, in the description of the video, I want to leave the link for your book. So I'm gonna get that from you because I want people to know about your 6 summers. Okay. Your 6 summers. And I'm rooting for you. And I can't wait till you get that book that we talked about. And then me and you can discuss that. And then maybe I can have like a whole big, party of us talking about that book there.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it will help us. But I thank you so much again, Tarita, for coming on A Widow's Journey, strengthening what remains. And thank you again.
You're welcome. Is it okay to leave how I can be contacted too?
Yes, leave
Okay.
that.
Okay. Okay, so I can be reached. I'm on Instagram under I am Tarita Hallman. If you guys just want to look up my like Instagram pages, the Hallman Hermitage is where I do like photos of my house. But I also have the Afterlife Wife that I'm just created and getting up and running on Instagram also. But I also have a podcast. It's more like a journal. So that's Tarita's Take, and it's on Spotify, and I think it's on Apple. I can't remember, but it's
Well, guess
Tarita's
what?
Take.
I'm gonna put all of how whatever what you just said right now. I'm gonna put it in the description of the
Okay.
video as well, so people can definitely, stay in contact with you on your social media pages as well as Apple and Spotify and whoever else we need to put up there. Okay? Because Tarita has a story, and I want everyone to hear her story and just, send her some encouraging words, y'all. Y'all give it up to Tarita. She did that. Y'all saw her do this today, and I'm so proud of her, and I know you guys are too. And like I say, Tarita, I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I truly
Thank you for
do.
having me.
No, thank you.